This is K1DBC. All stations please stand by. The Denver Radio Club Learning Net starts in 5 minutes. Hello, welcome to the YouTube channel here. Before we start the net, I'll be playing a few minutes of the Ham Radio Workbench podcast 202 with N6ARA and his experience operating in Japan.
So, Ara, let's talk about some of your projects in more detail. And one thing in particular, before we get into too much hardware, is I understand you were doing some operating in Japan. So why don't you tell us a bit about that?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I just got back from Japan 2 days ago, where I was very fortunate enough to get a Japanese reciprocal call sign before going to Japan. So I got the call sign JJ0XMS, and it had always been a dream of mine to at least operate radio in another country and just experience what that's like and get to know folks there. Especially on Twitter, a lot of Japanese operators are on there, and they're very active and are engaging in conversations and things like that. And so, I had this plan going into it. I did a bunch of research of, what SOTA summits I can do or what POTA I can do out there. And it really, the first thing was actually getting the license, the reciprocal license to begin with. I learned that the equivalent of ARRL in Japan is JARL, and so they have a website you can go to and actually request to get a reciprocal license, but you need they ask for 60 days to process everything and get that all set up, and I had discovered this at day 58 till like operating day or something like that, and it was way too close to try to submit it, and I figured they'd probably just outright reject it. And right around that time, I was messaging a few of my buddies in Japan. So JG0AWE, he goes by Waka, and 7N1FRE Kaz in Japan. They're very active SOTA activators and chasers. And so, I sent a message to them saying, hey, I'm going to be in Japan. Looks like I've missed this window. I was hoping to get my license, but, any advice, like what to do? And Waka, being the nicest guy, was like, oh, I can make an appointment with the Japanese government and actually get you this reciprocal license and essentially short circuit JRL, who is essentially like effectively the broker between the government and folks trying to get these reciprocal licenses. So this guy decided to make an appointment with the Japanese government, went in physically with all my paperwork, submitted everything for me. And, he's even sent me pictures of him at the office, like setting up all the paperwork and doing this stuff. Wow. And, he's like, hey, this is all done. And I'm like, man, I barely, I struggle to make appointments with the government here, like the DMV, what have you, even do my own, important paperwork. And this guy here is just going out and helping other hams. And apparently I found out it's not the first time he's helped out a couple of others. But I would say, to listeners, don't let it come down to that.
This is K1DBC. The DRC Learning Net will start in 1 minute. All stations, please stand by.
If you are headed to Japan and planning to activate there, definitely go through the JRL website and submit it 60 days ahead of time, and then they'll mail you your license. And I'm an extra, and so I think I got the equivalent there is like 1 AM, which gives you access to all the bands. I still need to actually do a little bit of research on this to remember exactly what all the license levels are and what the equivalence licenses are in Japan. So after that was done, I was like, all right, sweet, I got my license. I started planning SOTA and POTA, and so I opened up the SOTA webpage. And I was staying in Tokyo for most of the trip, and Tokyo is a very large flat city. It's a very, very large flat.
All right, might listen to a few minutes of that after the net here about Ham Radio Workbench, episode 202 from February 21st, 2024, with N6ARA talking about his experience working in Japan. Good evening and welcome to the Denver Radio Club Learning Net for July 30th, 2025. It's a great place to learn about ham radio and STEM topics in general, and thankfully we have plenty of combined experience and expertise. This is Kilo 1 Delta Bravo Charlie. My name is Daron. That's Delta Oscar Romeo Oscar November. I'll be this evening's net control. Tonight we'll be taking your comments, questions, check-ins, updates, and more. We meet every Wednesday, except the third Wednesday of the month, at 7:30 p.m. Mountain Time on 145.490 and 448.625. Both have a negative offset. You can contact us via Elmer at w0tx.org and most social media at Denver Radio Club. We also stream and archive our nets, youtube.com/Denver Radio Club. So if you're not able to make our repeaters, or that is just an additional way to participate in the net. This net can be broken at any time for emergency or priority traffic by using the word break. Is there any emergency or priority traffic at this time? Nothing heard? With that, we'll start with the check-in process. All check-ins to the net will be taken in alphabetical groups based on the first letter of the suffix of the operator's call sign. The suffix is the first letter after the number in the call sign. If you can, please try to use ITU phonetics, at least for your call sign, and indicate if you have any traffic or questions as you check in. You can follow along with the check-in process if you like. w0tx.org/check-in. Let me drop for a moment here. With that, if your call suffix begins with the letters A through M, Alpha through Mike, please check in now.
Kilo Delta Zero, Delta Uniform Juliet, Chris in Lakewood, no traffic. Kilowatt Delta Zero, Charlie Golf Fox, Kenny and Thornton, no traffic.
All right, this is K1 DBC Net Control. I'd like to acknowledge the following check-ins. KD0, DUJ, Chris, sound a lot better than normal, but you're coming in just fine. And KD0, CGF, Kenny, thank you so much for checking in, the both of you. Anyone else? Alpha through Mike, A through M. If your call suffix begins with the letters A through M, please call now. Okay, we'll open it up the whole alphabet. We're taking all call signs, all call suffixes if you'd like to check into the Denver Radio Club Ham Learning Net just for the count, or if you have any traffic or questions. Again, we're taking all call signs, all call suffixes. Please call now.
Kilo Echo Zero, Sierra Uniform Mike, Jonathan Lakewood with traffic. November 0, Tango Romeo Papa, Jim in Lakewood.
WD0CIV, WD0CIV, Charles in Denver, no traffic.
Foxtrot 0, Sierra Papa Romeo, Brian in Denver, no traffic.
All right, this is K1DBC, net control. Hold up there for just a moment. That time we had KE0 SUM Jonathan with traffic, N0 TRP Jim, WD0 CIV Charles, and I think it was KF0 SPR Sierra Papa Romeo Brian. If there's a call correction needed there, please let me know. Hey, Keith. Good evening. Thanks for joining us as well. All right, this is K1 DVC Net Control, and then we just had N5QF, Keith checking in on our YouTube channel from North Carolina. We're glad to have you there. N5QF, glad to have you in there. This is K1 DVC Net Control. Anyone else? We're taking all comments or all check-ins at the moment. We have plenty of time. I see that Jonathan SUM noted he had traffic, so we'll get back to him in a minute. But we're taking all call signs, all call suffixes. Please call now.
This is Kilo Delta Zero Oscar Tango Uniform Janine in Dacono.
All right, and that time we had Kilo Delta Zero, Oscar Tango Uniform, Janine in Dacono. Thank you so much for checking in. With that, again, this is about an hour long. We have another 50 or so minutes. I'll take check-ins throughout the net, youtube.com/Denver Radio Club if you're not able to make our repeaters. And you can always check in on past nets and what's happened there. With that, we'll throw it over to Jonathan, KE0 SUM. The net is yours.
Hi, Jerome and everybody. But the only thing of interest that caught my eye a few days ago is a news article how the UHF frequency was under threat. And according to AI, it says it's facing increasing pressure and potential threat to the band for more bandwidth for mobile data and technologies. I wonder if anybody researched that and how badly that's going to affect amateur radio. Are we going to lose 70 centimeters? KE0 SUM, back to that.
Great question, and yeah, that was has been a topic of interest to a lot of us over the recent weeks or so. A couple of weeks ago, it was announced AST. I don't know actually what that stands for. AST Space Mobile spectrum usage. Basically, as of 1 day ago, there's some news that they have dropped 430 to 440 use from the final FCC application. This has been a contentious issue for amateur radio, but the problem is now resolved. AST Space Mobile has dropped its request to use 430 to 440 megahertz as backup communications. Now it's emergency only outside of the U.S. So I know that the ARL did some filing against them as well, but it looks like it has been defeated for now at least. So if you have anything else on that or anyone else, go right ahead. Let's see, just as some preliminary information. The community was protesting this company, AST Space Mobile, their request to use, again, 430 to 440 megahertz band, which includes spectrum already allocated for ham radio operators, including emergency communications. They're asking, they were asking the U.S. Federal Communications to deny their request to use spectrum outside the U.S. Texas-based AST wants to use the spectrum outside the U.S. to track and control its proposed fleet of 248 satellites, which promises to deliver internet connectivity to everyday smartphones. Luckily, it has been defeated, though. So hopefully there shouldn't be any issues with having any interference on those bands.
KE0NFP checking in.
I got the check in there. I think I may need a correction. Was it Kilo Echo Zero Mike Foxtrot Papa? Can you call once more?
The check-in radio is KE, so Kilo Echo Zero, November Foxtrot. Papa.
All right, I got you that time, Thomas. Kilo Echo Zero, November Fox Papa. Thanks for checking in from Broomfield. If you have anything, let us know.
Thank you. Monitoring.
Excellent. Sounds good. This is K1 DBC Net Control. So some of our bands are very much use them or lose them. We've seen in the past where some of the more obscure bands really just go unused for years on end, and we really don't have many great excuses really to hold on to them. And so, unfortunately, government agencies and a lot of other private agencies, because we use them for free, they have a lot more vested interest to provide those to those types of companies. But hopefully with our major bands, we will never have any rocking of the boats. I'm hoping not. I'm hoping that as the 100,000, 200,000 ham radios, we can stand strong to make sure our standard bands aren't overtaken. This is K1 DBC Net Control. Anyone else? Comments, questions, check-ins at 7:43. We have another 45 or so minutes. Please call now.
KD0 CGF with a question.
Yeah, KD0 CGF. Kenny, go ahead.
Talking about the use of the bands, that does bring up a peculiar question. When you were saying use it or lose it kind of ordeal, because there's some bands that go unused for years on end. Is there a list somewhere or on the government website of what bands are used at what time of year? Do they even keep track of that? KD0 CGF, back to net.
That
2M.
That's a great question. I know that there are ARL volunteer monitors, I think is the program, but that's mostly for making sure people use the bands correctly. I'm not sure if there's actually tracking of usage of the bands, but SUM, Jonathan, go right ahead.
Well, isn't it, if I understand the question, I mean, 10 meters is a winter band. It's not usually open in the summer. 20's open most of the time, and 40, and of course, at night you have more of your 80 and 160. The 160 works good in the morning, so I don't know if that answers your question at all, but back to net.
KD0 CGF. Yes and no. I'm thinking more along the lines of like the government officials, like how they would determine what's usable or how often it gets used and that kind of thing. I'm more on the government side, really. I think is what my question was towards. KD0 CGF. Back to net.
Yeah, great question. I'm thinking because a lot of repeaters are still analog based and maybe not internet capable of reporting, clubs themselves barely have an understanding of how often their repeaters are used, let alone some of the government maybe knowing those numbers. So as long as we continue to apply for licenses and they are accepting them and we get to use them, I guess that's as much as I can say about that. But yeah, I'm not too sure. I was trying to bring up some ARL news articles of which bands it was I've seen in the past. I can't remember. It was like a 10 meter band or a 10 gigahertz band or something that maybe we lost in the past or something like that due to power line or so. I can't remember exactly, but it hasn't been too many. It really hasn't been too many, but that is definitely something that, because we are secondary users to all of these bands, so that is something that could potentially happen. This is K1DBC Net Control. Back to KD0CGF or anyone else on that topic of repeater usages, band usages, or the government's monitoring of that. Go right ahead. All right, this is K1DBC Net Control. Yeah, it only comes up. It comes up infrequently, but sometimes there'll be like a notice for proposal of comments that the FCC puts out for certain bands, certain activities, and things like that. So they don't really threaten us too often with taking away our major privileges, really. So it's kind of minor things that come up. Some of the bandwidth that changes over time. Asked to be using less bandwidth in certain aspects, FT8 and digital modes, things like that. But arl.org/news is always a good place to check for that. So I'm just skimming that. But it is 7:48. We have plenty of time here still. Anyone else? Comments, questions, check-ins? Please call now. All right, this is K1DBC Net Control. So, Elon Musk and Starlink, they were able to operate without doing any of this. So, hopefully, other satellite companies won't have much of an issue either. With that, anyone else? Comments, questions, check-ins? I certainly can bring up a news article or something. But anyone else? Comments, questions, check-ins? Please call now.
Comment, SUM.
Yeah, Jonathan, KE0SUM with the comment. The net is yours.
Well, Denver Radio Club must track this to some extent, but I was talking on another net the other night with people about how there's suddenly been a drop-off in people joining into the nets. And it was definitely true for the Mountain Repeater group that I was talking to, but I've noticed it on another net. But it seems like that's also happening here. Do you think that's true? Do you have any theory?
We are seeing lower numbers, but it certainly fluctuates week to week. Don't know if it's the weather. It's gotten quite hot out here, so I don't know if people don't want to turn their radios on or something, or it's I'm not too sure. Things ebb and flow. Let me see. The tool that I made to track, let me see, from last year this time, July, we had 15 check-ins to the net total. We had we've had 10, 15, 20 or so within the last couple of months. So really not that far off, really, from where we were last year. But I don't really have much of a theory on that. So yeah, it's always a question that I have, because our Sunday night net runs at 8:30 at night, and we get quite a lot of activity then. But yeah, I don't know. I wonder if anyone else has comments or questions on that. Maybe if there's less wanting to check into these nets, or if there's something else you're looking for, let us know. But yeah, I'm not too sure on that, Jonathan. If you have anything else on that, go ahead. Yeah, great question, though. Yeah, I'm not too sure. One thing I was also going to bring up was we had our first in-person hybrid meeting, and we had a pretty good attendance with that. So we had half a dozen or so people, plus on the Google Meet remotely, and then in person we had 20 plus people. So we're having a lot more activity in person. So I think more people are interested in that too. So. It's I'm not too sure, but there's plenty of options out there, though.
OTU comment.
Yeah, OTU, Janine, go right ahead.
This has been a big question for a long time, and I've noticed that for myself, I'm still pretty gun shy for nets. Because of a bad experience. Did not happen in the Denver metro area, but I did not know the net was even going on. I was a visitor to a community, and I got chewed out because I accidentally interrupted a net when the net control operator didn't keep things moving along. So, I think there's some of that has happened to some people that makes them gun shy. They don't want to get on the air. I know I've talked to a lot of people who are still mic shy, even after, and I can encourage them to get on the nets because that helps get you past that. But I wonder, how often that experience happens to other people. Break. I also know that with the, I'll call it the graying of the hobby, that there's just fewer people in general to check in to nets. And then I think also during the summer there's a lot of people who are traveling, and there's a lot of activities, so there's not a lot of engagement where we would see that more in the winter or during the school year kind of time frame. So those are just some thoughts that I've had on that topic. KD0OTU, back to net.
Comment, SUM.
Excellent. Thanks, Jadine. Really do appreciate that. We'll get back to you here in just a second, Jonathan. Yeah, wanting to fill dead air. There's nothing wrong with that. And so, yeah, sorry to hear you've had bad experiences with that. And yeah, it's a pretty chill environment. We're a pretty chill group. We kind of treat this like a kind of a family environment. And I really wish and hope a lot of other clubs would do that instead of try to treat it more business-like. So just nice and relaxed. It's really just welcoming in. So, yeah, glad to hear you're having better experiences here. But with that, Jonathan, SUM, go ahead.
Well, I think you're right on a couple of topics because I'm thinking a lot of the nets I join locally are VHF. So anyone can join, but a lot of times I tell new technicians about these nets because that's what they're designed for in a lot of ways. I mean, you can work for any ham radio operator, but specifically for new techs. And I think there's a lot to be said with them being mic shy, about jumping in and saying hi and asking questions. Now, I don't know if that's true, but it kind of seems that way. Yes, you am back to that.
KD0 CGF with a comment.
All right, this is K1 DBC Net Control. Yeah, Mike Shy, Mike Frightness is definitely a real thing, and I really only came out of my shell after running these nets and participating in this hobby, so it's kind of a stepping stone for myself. Kenny, KD0 CGF, go ahead.
0TX repeater.
I do agree, and every one of you guys on this net, I got you guys to thank for helping me break me out of my shell. I still have a bit of mic fright on HF, but my mic fright on 2 meters and 440 has gotten pretty good, and the couple times that I helped run this net really helped. I still find myself stumbling over the words from time to time, but you guys have been really great about that. And let me drop for a second here. Sorry, I'm always worried that I'm going to overwork the repeater. But noticing new hams coming in, I have noticed lately an increase up in the Golden area around the School of Mines. I got to speak with a gentleman a week or two ago, and really good guy. And I hope to hear him on here sometime. And but I've met a few other hams looking to get into the hobby out of the School of Mines and being new students. And well, it's I can see the difficulty getting into it. See, I lost train of thought as that mic fright just kind of creeped up on me. But I'll turn it back over to the net. This is KD0 CGF.
All right, sounds good. This is K1 DBC Net Control. If you think of anything else, Kenny, or if anyone else has anything on that, go right ahead.
Well, I think the whole game changes once you get your general, because VHF is not for the repeaters in the Denver area. I monitor quite a few of them, and only 3, 4, maybe 5 are all that active. And by active, I mean not very active. They will get some traffic going, whereas once you go to HF, well, I can get on tonight and find anybody I want on probably 20 or 40 and make a queue. So if the band conditions are good, but so it's a little harder for a technician to kind of learn the lingo and get used to talking to people on the radio. KE0SUM, back to net.
time is 8 p.m.
All right, excellent. This is K1 DBC Net Control. Our repeater just notified us, just ticked over to 8 p.m. Really do appreciate that. Thanks, Jonathan, KE0SUM, for the follow-up on that. Yep, knowing the flow of how a conversation goes, whether it be over a local or HF, it's definitely is really helpful to know. And it's, sometimes it just takes a couple of weeks of listening to a net and getting comfortable with how they work and being able to jump in. But hopefully most nets hopefully make it fairly comfortable for anyone new to jump in, and hopefully doesn't make it too uncomfortable and just is welcoming. So with that, this is K1 DBC Net Control. Comments, questions. We'll take check-ins. If you're just tuning in, this is the Denver Radio Club Learning Net. It's a great place to learn about ham radio and STEM topics.
K9BYU.
K9BYU, Russell got you checked in there. There is about a 3-minute timeout to the repeater, so just keep that in mind. So if anyone else wants to check in, we're taking all comments, questions, check-ins to this evening's Learning Net. Please call now.
BYU with a comment.
No further check-ins at the moment. I'll take check-ins a couple more times throughout the net, but K9, BYU, Russell, the net is yours.
Yeah, kind of like what everybody else was saying, these type of nets are really nice for new people to get used to, and, it's, personally, I prefer these kind of nets because there's more interaction between everybody. That way we all get to know each other and stuff. As opposed to some of these nets where they just put out information, that's it. You call in, check in, and that's it. Having an interaction with other people works out a lot better, and I think especially for new techs, it's more encouraging for them to get involved. And I would like to see more clubs have more nets like this that are a little bit more interactive. I really look forward to them. So I'll turn it back to you. This is K9BYU.
Well, excellent. K9BYU. This is K1 DBC Net Control. I love to hear that. Thank you so much for relaying that information. Yeah, it's I've been checking into nets for 4 or 5 years now, and this is pretty much the only net that I continue to check into because it's less rigid and it's off the cuff, and it's not as you were mentioning, kind of just reading off information and expecting a check-in or two here and there, and it's a lot more open for people. So. Yeah, I know there's the Digital Learning Net. They run, I think, at the exact same time. ColoradoDigital.net, I think, another option out there. So, I'm glad to hear that these types of nets help people operate more, whatever that be. Excellent. Well, this is K1 at DBC Net Control. We have another 25 or so minutes. Comments, questions, check-ins, anything else? I certainly can bring something up or two, but anyone else, please call now.
Checking in for the count.
Yeah, go ahead with that check-in just for the count. I wasn't able to catch that call sign.
I just wanted to make sure, copying. This is Kilo Charlie 7, Kilo Mike Kilo out of Fort Lupton Mobile right now, testing a new radio in a vehicle.
Excellent. I think it was Jim, Kilo Charlie 7, Kilo Mike Kilo from Fort Lupton, copying you pretty much 5x7. A little bit noise in the background, but very, very readable.
Thank you much. I'm just testing the radio, scanning through, and I'll be standing by listening to the rest of what sounds like a net going on. I appreciate it.
So if you're in Fort Lupton, that's a good ways out. What antenna are you using? KE0SUM.
It's an old antenna. I've had it for probably 10 or 12 years. Used it on some semi-trucks, and I just put it onto my pickup truck. I would have to get back to you on the exact make and model, but I have a
W0TX repeater.
Tone 778, I believe, is what I'm running right now. Again, this is Kilo Charlie 7, Kilo Mike Kilo out of Fort Lupton. Mobile in the driveway.
So I got one more question, because inquiring mind wants to know. So, yeah, I know the radio and I can picture the antenna. How many watts are you running?
I, again, would have to apologize. I'm guessing it's probably, I believe this radio is max 20. It's probably set on that because I run around the state all over.
Well, thanks for the information. KE0SUM back to net.
Excellent. Sounds good. Yeah, as we've mentioned in the past, antenna makes a world of a difference with radios, and yeah, that is a maximum of a 25 watt radio. Let's see. As the crow flies from where I am, it is a. Oh, geez, why is this not working? About 36 miles, about 45 minutes away from me. At least I'm in South Broadway, Inglewood area, Littleton. But he has he's north, I guess, of Boulder, but potentially, but has quite good coverage of our repeaters. It sounds like so. Yeah, 25 even. You can probably get away with maybe 5 watts potentially. So maybe some testing. I think maybe some of the medium settings work there as well. So yeah, really cool stuff there. Anyone else? Comments, questions, check-ins? Any new radios you're working with? Any antennas you're working with? Dayton Hamvention happened a few months ago, a month or so ago. We had the the Sky. We just had the FAA or a plane convention as well. Air Venture. Anyone else on anything that's happening? Go right ahead.
Kilo Foxtrot 0, Foxtrot Papa India, Ron in Lakewood, late check-in.
All right, KF0 FPI. Ron, I got you checked in. Let's see, there was a kind of a funny Reddit post, not funny, but just the reality. Over on reddit.com/r/amateur radio, someone purchased the new Yaesu FTX1 radio that we've talked about a $1,500 radio. HF, basically an all-band, all-mode transceiver. And someone mentioned that for that price they're paying, they are not getting a manual with it, which is kind of odd. Or not manual, excuse me, programming software. So these can be programmed with Chirp or RT systems, but apparently the Yaesu FTX1 doesn't actually come with like legacy free software that you can use to program that radio, which is kind of odd. I guess that's apparently not anything new, really, for Yaesus, but I had an FT857. I thought it had some built-in software, but I'm not too sure. So that was kind of interesting from a few days ago. So anyone else on that or your experiences with programming software not being included with radios, go ahead.
KD0 CGF with a comment.
Yeah, KD0 CGF Kenny with the comment. Go ahead.
So my experience with programming software, I've programmed more radios than I can count. Everything from Kenwood through, Kenwood, Motorola, Yaesu, you name it, I've probably programmed it. The brand anyways. And what I've come to realize is the software that RT Systems provides is actually been pretty good. I have noticed there's some settings in their software that does not work with certain radios. But a generalization, I've had pretty good luck with them. KD0 CGF, back to net.
Gotcha, sounds good, and I no doubt have that idea as well. It's just odd that some radios come with built-in, I think it's CPS, customer programming software. I'm not too sure what it's called, but at least it's a free option at least. But yeah, I've heard great things about RT Systems, great things about Chirp. So if your radio didn't come with, if someone's radio didn't come with programming software, there are definitely options out there. I guess it was a kind of really just a kind of a question of they were asking with the price that they're paying, how is that thing? But yeah, as people have mentioned, they haven't come with programming cables or software really of how high end the radio is. So there thankfully are options out there at least for them. All right, this is K1 DBC Net Control. I guess the phrase I was trying to think of was it's the principle. It's the principle of things. But nope, I guess there are options out there. So it's I guess that may or may not have been the first time they purchased a radio of that price, and I guess they now know what to expect going forward. So all right, 8:13 p.m. Anyone else? Comments, questions, check-ins? Please call now.
It's KD0 CGF. I got an update on a new project.
KD0 CGF. Yeah, that would be great. Please go right ahead.
So, I'm going to be here soon replacing the radials of a Hustler 4B TV antenna. A long time ago, when I think it was Comcast came out, they wound up cutting one of the ground radials that was used, and they tried just tying it together and calling it good and throwing some tape on there. And well, I'm getting in the habit of trying to redo the backyard, so I'm deciding I'm going to rip up all the old radios and replace them with new ones, and those radios have been in the ground for 35 years. Let me drop for a second. And that antenna you have is what I'm running, just with a different top on it. It's actually a 30 meter top instead of the 40 meter, I believe. And I've been talking about upgrading it to the 5B TV antenna, but done by Hustler. But it was brought to my attention that the ground radial for 80 meters, I think it's 80 meters? No, the nighttime band. I'm drawing a blank. The radios are so long that it'd be longer than my backyard. So I'm trying to think of a way that I can still accomplish this and have all the other radials in the ground, but I'm still uncertain. KD0 CGF back to net.
I was busy for a minute. Why are you concerned about the buried radials in your ground? KE0SUM.
I'm concerned about. I'm replacing them because one of them got dug up and it was cut and it was tied again, and some of the others ones I think have been cut over time of like different utility places or different stuff going on with the yard, and with them being in the ground for 35 years, I figured it's good just to replace them. But the 80 meter band, I believe, I've been told the radials are so long that they're longer than my backyard, and I'm trying to think of a way that I can put that radial in the ground and still have the other ones in there as well. It's just a conundrum. KD0 CGF back to net.
What gauge wire are you using for your radials?
I don't know yet. I haven't made it that far. The radials that are in there were wires, because originally my dad was the one that put them in, and he used what we had at the time, and it was essentially solid core AC wires, and it worked. I'm not going to say it didn't. But yeah, I'm not too sure on the gauge yet. I still need to research all that.
So with the digging and things going up, and you're thinking of replacing this, has your SWR changed at the antenna or the radio?
I will definitely take note. I have not started pulling up the wires yet and started to replace them yet. I actually had that 811 utility, like 811 dig place, come out and mark all of the lines in the backyard, so I know what was where and where to dig, mainly for my other yard project. But I was using that as well as a gauge to kind of gauge where everything is.
Well, you'll have to keep us all posted. KU0SUM back to net. Sounds like an interesting project.
I will for sure. KD0 CGF back to net.
Excellent. Sounds good. Thank you so much for bringing that up. And I was just also bringing up the QRZ page for K0KKU to see if there was anything I could see on that. Current setup, 5B TV, Hustler. I was looking at the radio layout of that 4B TV, and it looks like there's a plate that can be used. But I'm not too sure on the 80 meter band, though. But it looks like quite a lot of the radials are taken care of. within a fairly reasonable amount of space, but I'm not too sure though. This is K1 DBC Net Control. Anyone else or anyone else on that? Go ahead. All right, this is K1 at DBC Net Control for the Denver Radio Club Learning Net. We have just about 10 minutes before we start to wrap things up. If there's anyone else for further check-ins, comments, or questions, please call now. All right, this is K1 at DBC Net Control. I'm sure everyone is aware of the heat dome weather that's going on here, at least in a good portion of the United States, and I'm not too sure how much of the rest of the world, but it is stinkingly hot. It's hopefully going to start cooling down over the next couple of months, but we'll have to see. So yeah, just I guess take that into consideration of your operating methods and modes, and when you operate and when you do things. So. That might be also a consideration of why people aren't checking in. Some people may not have AC, things like that. So that was also something just big in the news. Obviously, it's just the extreme heat weather right now. But anyone else on that or anything else? We have another, again, 10 or so minutes. Please call now. All right, I'll see if I have anything else to bring up for the last few minutes here. But I really didn't. Let me see if I have anything else, though. But if anyone else, last-minute comments, questions, check-ins, or anything else for this evening's Learning Net, please call now. All right, this is K1 DBC Net Control. Again, EAA Air Venture recently took place in Oshkosh. So lots of aviation, lots of radio communication support. Our club president has been participating in that for several years now. So I don't know if he has come back yet, but he may have an after-action report on that. But we'd also love to hear anyone or not, if anyone has any aviation or aeronautical news that they'd like to pass from that, or any of the other ham fests or anything else happened recently, go ahead. Okay, nothing heard. I might start to wrap the net up here. Again, I'll play a few minutes of a podcast I was playing just before the net started. Ham Radio Workbench, episode 202 from February 24th, 2024. Speaking with Ara, N6ARA, on his operations in Japan, radio operations. So I was playing a few minutes of that. Kind of spoke about some of the issues that he was having to go through with JARL, the equivalent of the AARL, trying to get licensed. And thankfully, there were some local resources out there to get him licensed. They are not reciprocal like a lot of other countries. So I'll play a few more minutes of that, and we'll see about a little bit more of his activity. But again, you can check that out on hamradioworkbench.com on your own time if you'd like. With that, any other last-minute, few-minute comments, questions, check-ins, anything else? Please call now. All right. Well, I do appreciate everyone checking in. I do know when Silence is heard. There's not much else going on. With that, I really do appreciate everyone checking in. We had a few new check-ins this time, at least to my ears. Really do appreciate that. A few new call signs. Really appreciate that. I also appreciate always everyone continuing to check in who's always checked in here. As mentioned, nets like these really are what continue to not only make our club continue to operate, really, but to help and continue to let people operate on the air and continue to encourage people. We appreciate all the 13 check-ins we had in. Let's see. We appreciate our club for allowing us to use our repeaters. With that, join us next week, 7:30 p.m. for the next Learning Net. This is K1 DBC 7.3, and I will be clear.
City, as I came to learn, and the nearest soda summit was like an hour and a half train ride into the mountains to the east. And so I picked something relatively easy because I wasn't sure how much time I would have. That turned out to be a fantastic activation. I left very early in the morning and got to experience Japanese rush hour on the trains, which was an experience. I think that's probably the best way to put it. It was a little crazy, but by the time I got out into the mountainside and got to the trailhead, it was just this most beautiful, peaceful place. Essentially, it was a very well maintained trail to the top of the summit. And at the top of the summit, there was this gorgeous shrine overlooking a river. And so I set up and activated there. And then so I only got to do only one POTA activation or SOTA activation, unfortunately, but I got to do 2 POTA activations. And it turns out Tokyo has 146 POTA parks alone. It's incredible. And all of them are accessible through the public transportation system. So you don't need a car. You just, throw your rig into your backpack and just hop around from station to station. And you could walk between parks in a lot of cases. Around then, I actually got to, when I got to Japan, I actually got a message from Tad. I forget what his handle is, but I think he goes by Tad. 7L4WV. He makes these fantastic little QRP radio kits. This guy used to be like a big radio amplifier, large scale radio amplifier designer. So Tokyo Tower uses amplifiers and power RF circuits and stuff. And after he retired, he decided to just do QRP, QRP to say that. He's building power. Rigs doing 10 milliwatts to 100 milliwatts, and he's like, I like the smaller stuff. It's easier and more fun. And I'm like, oh, that's really great. And we met up at a park and activated the park together. He did FT8. His little rigs do FT8 with his Android phone. He also, oh my gosh, he gave me one of these little paddles. I could show you guys here on the video stream, but it's a Morse code key. I'm getting it out of the bag. It's a little Morse code key that has buttons on it and a little microcontroller, so you could send the code and then push buttons to do memory.
Nice.
Memory.
I've seen those.
Yeah,
they're like K3NG style keyers built into those, and and I think that's from Aki Deco Keyer, the Pocky Tech guy, and I've got a couple of his keyers and products here.
Oh man, that's fantastic! I love it, and I love the clear expose window too. Yeah, and the really cool thing too is
an old school, man.
It has a built-in speaker. I think it has practice modes too, and the little knob on the side allows you to adjust. A good question. So it turns out I think it's for 5 years, so you get to keep that license for 5 years, and then you can also renew it. So I'm definitely hanging on. The reason I was actually even in Japan is one of my closest friends moved there, and so he's going to be living there for who knows how long now. But I'm going to be visiting him more often and hopefully activating more SOTA and POTA out there. What was I going to mention? There was one. Oh yes, okay. I would say one of the most surprising things I learned while I was there was just how insane 40 meters is. It is incredible. I turned on the radio, and I wanted to work my buddies in the U.S. first. So I did 15 meter, and then I was like, well, I was told 40 meter is really good. Go to 40 meter. You're not going to have a problem making contacts. And I had brought my IC 705. Actually, quick tangent, something to mention here. When you get a license in Japan, you actually have to not only you actually have to register your radio as well. So you have to say, I have an IC 705. That's what I'm going to be using with this license. So I couldn't bring like my KX2 or my KH1. Mostly because when we first filled out the paperwork, we ended up putting the IC 705 because I figured that was probably the best rig to bring with me. Anyway.
All right, thanks everyone for joining us here. Again, hamradioworkbench.com for the rest of that podcast, number 202. Everyone, have a good evening. We'll talk to you soon.